it's Alex, the Canadian baker. Today, we're going to be making a pull-apart cinnamon bun bundt cake. This is a recipe you don't want to miss. So to start off this delicious pull-apart cinnamon bun bundt cake, we're going to be starting by making the bread dough. I'm going to be using brioche for the recipe because it's so amazing. So in a mixer bowl, you want to bloom the yeast. So you want to put some yeast, and then you want to put some warm milk, as well as some granulated sugar. The sugar is going to help the yeast bloom because it uses it as food. And then you want to make sure you use warm milk because it really makes the yeast bloom a little bit better. You know your yeast is ready to go when you start to see bubbles. Look at that yeast. It's ready to go. So once your yeast has bloomed nicely, you want to put in some eggs. You want to make sure that they are pre-whisked because when you put whole eggs into this, it's just not going to incorporate properly and make a disaster. So you just want to start off by mixing it slowly on low speed. You then want to add some flour gradually as it's mixing. As well as some salt. You want to keep adding all the flour until you're all done. Then you want to mix the dough on low speed until it starts to come together. Look at that dough start to come together. You then want to add the best ingredient in this bread, which is, of course, the butter. This bread will not be brioche without that good butter. So you want to add the butter into the bread dough in 3 portions so it gets an even distribution and doesn't make big clumps of butter, which will be a disaster. So you want to add it to the bread dough gradually in 3 portions. Then you want to mix until incorporate. You always want to make sure you're mixing your dough on low speed because if you do it fast, the flour is just going to go absolutely everywhere. I know it may be messy, but remember, the messier, the better. While you're mixing the dough, the smell of the butter will definitely make you hungry. Trust me. Knead your dough in the mixer until it comes together and it looks nice and shiny, just like this. My bread dough is just about done, and you know what? I like to be old-fashioned and use my hands just to finish it off. I like to use my hands for, kneading dough and talking too sometimes. Once your dough is nice, smooth, and elastic, you want to cover it with some plastic wrap and let it rest in the fridge overnight. This will make it taste amazing. And you know what? If you ask me, it's well worth the wait. After that long 16-hour proofing time in the fridge, your dough will have risen double size, and also your fridge will smell like bread dough for the next couple of days, which is never bad, is it? So your dough should look like this after proofing time. Cinnamon buns are not cinnamon buns without that delicious filling, so we're going to make it. So in a bowl, you want to combine some butter, the best ingredient, some flour to thicken up the filling a little bit so it doesn't literally go everywhere, some salt to balance everything out, and then some cinnamon and nutmeg. I find that nutmeg just makes it taste so much more like a cinnamon bun, and of course, more delicious. Some good old vanilla for flavor, and lastly, some brown sugar. You want to mix this together until it all becomes a nice smooth filling. You have to really get your muscles going to get it nice and smooth. It's exactly what you want it to look like. Next up, we're going to be rolling the dough into a nice rectangle. So first of all, you want to flour a work surface. You want to take the dough and roll it. I like to flour both sides just to ensure that it doesn't stick to the working surface. I'm going to be using my special rolling pin, which was given to me by my grandma just before she passed away. There you have it. Even if the dough is not perfect, who cares? This is home baking. Next up, you want to smear the cinnamon bun filling onto the entire rectangle. Smells so good. Once you have spread the cinnamon filling across the entire rectangle, first of all, it'll smell really good, but don't eat it. So next up, you want to roll it like this, from one end to the other. Look at that. Listen, don't call me crazy for using a piece of dental floss to cut these, because I find that it just makes it so even and it doesn't mess up the nice swirl design. So you want to go underneath, and then you want to cross it like this, and then just cut. Makes it nice and even. Those beautiful cinnamon buns. Once they're cut, you want to put them into the bun pan. Make sure it's greased with baking spray, or else they're just going to get stuck and make a disaster. You then want to let it rise until it reaches the top. That looks and smells amazing. I can't wait to dig in. You know you've made good cinnamon buns when your kitchen smells like cinnamon, obviously. Next up, we're going to be making a cream cheese glaze to go on top of this delicious cinnamon buns cake. It literally takes the cake. So in a mixer bowl, you want to combine some cream cheese, make sure it's softened, as well as some sifted powdered sugar. Make sure it's sifted, because if it's not sifted, you're going to get lumps in your frosting, and nobody wants lumps in their frosting. I know I don't. You want to whip this until nice and light. That cream cheese, nice, light. So to this, we're going to be adding some orange juice and orange zest to make it orange flavored, because I find that orange, cream cheese, and cinnamon buns are a match made in heaven. You also want to add some salt to balance out the sweetness a little bit, and then some heavy cream, which will whip quite nicely to make this delicious frosting. Look how nice, light, and fluffy that is. I want to eat it all. This thing smells amazing, but all it needs is that cream cheese glaze. Using a little spatula, I like to just smear it on top. You don't have to be super fancy. Now it's time to taste. This is always my favorite part. You know what? Screw the fork. I'm going to use my hands to eat this. Remember, the messier, the better.